talking about killing shadow. I've already done a video on shadow in artwork and shadow in general, what it means, and basically means fear. But it's just that you don't always notice it as fear. It can be hidden as just a lot of different other things. And I realized that I'm not being specific. I want to talk a bit of how you identify the shadow and what shadow is. I've also talked about this in more detail in the other video, but to actually tell you how you kill it. Because from what I have seen, the discussions that I've seen in my group, I realized that people don't really understand how this goes, and I haven't been clear about it. There is this conception of understanding what I'm saying and thinking that just by understanding the shadow, the fear, the reason behind why you are stuck, it's just gonna go away. But it's not. So this comes from probably because artists are afraid to take action because they're more in the feminine energy. Anyway, so killing shadow. The first thing, I keep playing with some things in my hand, just as you can see. I'm gonna take my pen. The first thing, shadow is fear. It may not look like fear sometimes, and it can be disguised. And shadow is not, any action can be out of shadow or not. The reason behind the action is actually what determines whether that action is shadow or not. Now the thing is, if you are stuck in any kind of way, if you don't have enough money, if your artwork sucks, if you are dissatisfied of anything, if life just doesn't go your way, it means you are in shadow, and more or less depends. And it depends in what areas, but usually there are some core shadows, and if you have shadows in one aspect of your life, you have them, it bleeds in all of them. But what I'm getting to, just identifying shadow is important, and it can be very subtle. Understanding and being very honest with yourself of why you are doing a certain action, that can be hard. It's actually something you build up, like the trust in yourself, because we are taught not to trust ourselves, but to trust others because they know better. But anyway, it takes trust in you and to actually be honest with yourself, and that's when you are able to identify the shadow. But that's where I come in, and I can help you. I can identify the shadows for you. But just because you or me have identified the shadow does not mean that the shadow is gone. Like, yes, you can have this mind-blowing revelation and you feel like, oh shit, this is going to change my entire life. Like, I totally understand the reason behind my dysfunction or my stuckness or my whatever. But it's not enough. It's not going to kill the shadow. What you have to do is to actually apply it in your life. The first thing you may want to do, actually, the very first, before you even apply it, is to be very specific with it. Meaning that you have to ask a lot of questions that you may think are stupid and that the answer is duh. But if you don't ask them, you are just assuming. And it's fascinating when you start to ask, like kind of like a kid that keeps asking why. That's what you have to do with yourself. Or if you come into my group and work with me, that's what I'm going to do with you. Because you will see how fascinating it is that you can actually dig so deep into a shadow and you just see the surface layer that actually covers the core shadow. And getting to the core is actually the first step. So it's not just, oh, I understand why I do this or whatever, but dig deeper into into the reason behind it. You will find more to it. And just when you get to the core of it, or just as deep as you can, you will notice what's holding you back, and there's an action to take in order to kill the shadow. And it may take one action, or it may take several times where you apply this new knowledge of yours in real life situations, but it's gonna involve action in order to kill the shadow. This is kind of what I want to say. It's very important, because there is this, if you feel the resistance to taking an action and you're like, oh, I just know what I have to do, and not digging deep enough into the issue, and not being willing to identify a next step, you are not at the core of it. You are not killing the shadow. You are just whatever. You have to get to a conclusion. Well, when you are triggered, because that's actually how you identify the shadow. When you are triggered by something, when you have an emotional reaction, it can be big at first. Usually when you're steeped in shadow, it's gonna be big. But why, after advancing and being more aware and killing more of your shadow, this shadow can be super subtle. But triggers will help you start identifying a shadow, and you will start to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. A trigger can be anything that you're dissatisfied with. And you dig deeper into that, and do not end the session or whatever, the discussion, until you actually figure out something that you can take action on, something that you can do in order to kill that shadow. So it's not just about understanding it and having a mental evaluation of what's going on. It's not just that, it's also the action. And if you want help with that, if you feel like you're stuck but you cannot get to the bottom of it, like Talent is Your Mistress is the Facebook group where you want to be. And take advantage of me answering any questions that you have. And I'm actually gonna do a challenge soon in there, so you might want to get in there. And if you're really committed, contact me in private to work with me one-on-one, or in my group program that I just recently announced. It's called Chaos Artistry. If you want to know more about Chaos Artistry, I have a whole video just on that. It's fucking epic. Okay, guys. See you. Bye.